Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tuesday Player Spotlight. The player that we've decided to spotlight this week has been the player Tim, which I believe could use a little bit more love in this community, especially the English community. He's actually very extremely well known in the Chinese community. He's got one of the largest streams in China. And in this particular game, he's playing against the Viper. This is the Masters of Arabia 1 Finals, game number 4. And in this particular game, he's playing under the nickname Kiss BB. Fiage is spectating. I don't think we have dedicated spectator mode back in 2012. And he's playing against the Viper, who, of course, is the Viper. He's always been unstoppable in tournaments, whether that's 2012 or whether it's modern day. So this is certainly a tall task for Tim to step up to this challenge. Tim has been around since 2002, though, so he's certainly got a lot of game experience with him. And in particular... That's hilarious, Leo. Someone called Leary to watch this. In particular, the theme that I want to stress about this particular game, each of these 3 games that I'll show you has a particular theme to go along with it. The theme I want to stress with this game is about efficiency. And what exactly does efficiency mean in Age of Empires 2? Efficiency means taking good fights, not losing units when you don't have to, building the right army composition that pays itself off in value. It means not over-investing into military when it's not useful for you. And it means, in some situations, not wasting gold. And there's other ways that efficiency will come into this game, and hopefully we'll see that as the game progresses. And I'll be able to highlight that for you. But Tim is a player that very much prides itself on becoming a very efficient player. So let's take a look at the civilizations first. This is a Spanish war. This is game 4. I won't tell you who wins this series or who wins this particular game because, again, I'll throw in a loss into the series just to keep you guys honest. And yeah, this is a highly important tournament at this time in 2012. And they're playing a Spanish war. Let's take a look at the resources. So Tim's map, he's got a woodline to the right side of the map. It's a fairly decent woodline, however, his map is fairly exposed. As you can see, 2 forward stones, forward berries. It's very difficult to wall this. Very difficult to wall the front. We see the Viper going to take a boar just as Tim was about to reach the boar, and that's very unfortunate for him, so that's going to throw off his build a little bit. And, so... Ignore the name Fiage, by the way, he's just spectating. Tim is actually playing. But Tim sees the boar of the Viper, and he's going to lure that back. So both players going to lure back their boars. Certainly this is a very serious tournament. I'm sure there was some money or some boobly premium or whatever was on the line. Not to mention their egos. And this is pretty funny. The Viper is going to try to even block the boar just as he's luring the boar of Tim. However, oh boy, oh no! So the boar is going to walk back. And Tim is going to have to lose a little bit more HP on trying to get that boar, unfortunately. And hit one more time. It actually takes 2 hits for it to run and chase your scout, I believe. So we'll keep an eye on that. And he's going to take another hit from this boar. So not a great start from Tim. We've seen how bad his map is at the very beginning. It's very open. He's having a little bit of trouble luring this boar. Let's check how he's doing at home. Lured his firstborn to his town center. So if this boar comes back, it'll be a bit early. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Viper. Viper's lured his second boar, so it's also a little bit early, rotting a little bit. Take a quick look at the Viper's map. It's also extremely open. Got a woodline in the back, gold in the back, which is on a hill, unfortunately. So neither player has a particularly good map, and stones in the front part. That's very important. In the Spanish War, where sometimes you like to get conquistadors to go for a tower rush. Boar is running back once again. Luckily, he didn't take a hit there. Yeah, boar was easing in this time with scouts only doing 10 damage to the, with boars only doing 10 damage to the scouts. So this is classic Age of Conquerors. Luckily, these 2 civilizations haven't changed too much in the recent balance, so you can pretend like you're watching the newest balance patch or whatever. And yeah, so their food economy's been throwing off a little bit. They'll have to certainly readjust to that. In the Spanish War, there's a few options that you like to go for. Dark Age Rush was certainly a very prominent strategy at this time in 2012. Men-at-Arms, a little bit less so common, but sometimes Spanish like to go for Men-at-Arms and Towers. Dark Age Rush and Fast Castle. Fast Castle Conquistadors or a classic Scout Rush are the options for the Spanish. Archers are particularly not a great option for the Spanish because they don't get the crossbow upgrade, and there's so many other strong options for the Spanish. So they really don't like to have a closed-off map, that kind of play style with archers. That could be one of their weaknesses in Feudal Age. The Vipers clicked up on a nice 21 population. It's almost as if we didn't have all that shenanigans in the beginning. And he's going to be a little bit faster up to the next age than Tim. Tim should be clicking up fairly shortly. He's going to add one more villager, so going to go up fairly late on 23 population. This might provide a window of opportunity for the Viper if he wants to go scouts and do a little bit of early damage. Let's take a look at Tim's scouting. Has not seen too much of the Viper's map. Does know it is fairly open though. The Viper has scouted most of the major resources of Tim's map. Doesn't see quite the wood line. I'm not quite sure why I ran around so much here, but either way, most players can see most of the essential things that they need to do. Tim is going to build a lumber camp on the right side. He probably should wall here if he wants that lumber to stay safe, but the efficiency should be pretty good, whereas the Viper, his efficiency is not so good. He's got 4 villagers on each side. They kind of bump into each other. A little bit of advantages and disadvantages from each player's map. Tim is now going to see the gold here, and the Viper's most likely just going out to deer. It's a little bit of a far lure, in my opinion, but maybe he'll decide to place a lumber camp here, drop off the resources for it later. Here we go. That's that early stable. 3 Spanish-built villagers building a stable, so certainly this will be a very fast scout rush, and something Tim has to be very wary of. Now, in this particular game, I've chosen not to highlight the theme that Tim does like to wall a lot. We have another game to demonstrate that. However, you will see some of these different themes hopefully come across in other games that they are playing. And Tim very much likes to wall a lot. So here you go, barracks coming up. And let's see what Tim decides to do. He's obviously not going to go archers, so he's probably going to go with a spearman and some scouts of his own. And let's go over to his point of view since he's the star of this particular series. So there we go, stable coming up. Now, it has to be said that he's at least going to be down 1 scout. The Viper's extra aggressive here, bringing forward a spearman. What the spearman can do is help to essentially put on extra aggression here. The spearman can battle the spearman of Tim and essentially cancel that out, leaving the scouts to be able to do damage to the villagers. Now Tim, he's behind. He's going to try to wall up a little bit to make sure he doesn't take too much damage. Now remember, his berries are on the front. These are very exposed. And here comes those 3 scouts. They should be okay due to the spearmen. However, this is where the 2 spearmen of the Viper come into play. They can attack the spearmen of Tim. And now these berries villagers will have to run back, or he's going to fight. Actually, this villager getting very low. Very low. 8 HP, 4 HP, and he's down. And those spearmen are distracted. So already, 1 villager kill from the Viper. He's got a military advantage. It's 6-4 currently. And it's going to take another spearman right there. Viper taking a slight hill advantage. And he's fine with this. He just wants to cancel out those spearmen. As his scouts try to do a little bit more damage, these villagers are already weak. And it looks like Tim is not going to be able to take his berries. Now the Viper going onto the wood line of Tim might be able to trap that villager. Instead, it's going to attack the scout. Going to take another scout. Maybe he can take the villager. So already KD ratio 3-1 in only 13 minutes in this game. That's fairly good. Spearman getting mauled by a wolf, unfortunately. Taking a look at the Viper's base. This is classic Spanish. You do a scout rush. You don't want to invest into archers, so you seed more farms. And hopefully go up to the next stage quickly and either go into conquistadors or knights. A lot of spearmen out for Tim. Playing very defensively. And this is something that I wanted to definitely want to highlight. Tim is behind in military right now. And he doesn't believe he's going to be able to catch up or do enough damage here. So he's going to discontinue scout production. And these are risky moves. I can't tell you, based off my knowledge at this particular point in the game, whether this is a good decision or a bad decision. What I can tell you is that, you know, it's certainly a very, it's a decision he's thought about. and decided that scouts are no longer going to be useful. So he's going to save the food there, try to be efficient with his food. Another interesting thing, he's actually chosen to go with an archery range as Spanish. And this is not a very typical move. 2 archery ranges is very untypical of Spanish. What Tim is going to see is that his opponent is moving over to stone. Now, the Viper's playing extremely greedy here. Sometimes he can do that. And if he wanted to go for knights, it would be a safer option. However, Conquistadors will be the stronger option if he gets his castle out. So he's going to take some stone, just going to defend with some towers, and hope that's able to defend from the aggression of Tim. So Tim, going to go with Spanish archers. Now, what you have to do with Spanish archers, your opponent is probably going to go for a faster castle age, try to get those conquistadors out. You really have to do the damage with these archers because those archers and those skirmishers are going to be very useless against knights and conquistadors in the castle age. So you 100% absolutely have to do damage with them in the feudal age. And it's going to take some time. He needs to mass up a few archers before he can move out. By that time, the Viper may already have some towers in his base and going up to the next stage. So this is a risky decision from Tim. And certainly if he loses all of the archers, it's going to be a lot of wasted resources for him. And let's see how many he decides to move out with. The second mining camp onto the gold. Tim is now fully walled. He feels nice and safe. Likes to move out when he's nice and safe at home. Going to bring his 3 spearmen so they help protect the army. And this is his scouting at the moment. Probably going to go with the stone first because that's the most exposed. The berries are probably already exhausted, but maybe there's a farm there. And the gold and the wood in the back is particularly exposed. So perhaps because the Viper's map is so exposed is why Tim has decided to go with the strategy. He was, of course, a little bit behind at this particular stage in the game. And there the Viper goes, up to the castle age. Another tower coming from the Viper. I'm not sure 2 is necessary for this particular stone. Obviously, another tower would be nice, maybe for the farms or something along those lines. Quick walls coming up from the Viper. There's actually a little hole there, so quick walling not quite there. And right now, Tim doing basically minimal economy damage, idling 2 farms, maybe 3 farms. 4 farms. But remember, this is quite a bit of investment from him. So Tim's just going to be content right there. And going to make his way over to the lumber line, forcing more towers out of the Viper. The Viper will still be able to get a castle out eventually. However, the towers will delay him a little bit. But certainly he needs to be able to defend from this aggression. That's a little unfortunate. Going to lose an archer or 2. However, at this stage, it looks like the archers may have paid themselves off. The Viper is investing more into towers. He's had a few of his farmers idle. Not the best, not the worst decision from Tim. But it has paid himself off and maybe bought himself a little bit of time to go up to the next stage with a stronger economy, hopefully. Yeah, Spanish archers. Something unique. You don't see very often for good reasons. Let's switch back over to the Viper. The Viper is only at 300 stone. He could either drop a siege workshop, drop the town center, or just wait for a castle. So we'll see what he decides to do. More archers from Tim. We'll see how long he continues on archer production. I would bet you right now he has actually cut off archer production. Yes, he has. And is instead adding a stable to go for a much more typical Spanish castle age. So if you think of just how resources are distributed, as far as Tim's gameplay so far, he's made a few scouts, decided they haven't really done anything for him, so he's discontinued them. Then went to 2 archer ranges, did his damage, discontinued archer production. And now he's going to go into knights. So he's basically made the army that he needed to do his damage, he believes, and then basically at that stage, discontinued army. So not over-investing into any particular unit at this point. As you'll see later on in this game, that'll change quite a bit. So the Viper has decided his castle is too late, wants to instead add maybe just a few knights. Doesn't have to be a full transition, but maybe wants to see if he can get anything with a knight or two. And Tim's just going to hang back at home. Knows there could be knights somewhere in the area. Those 4 scouts are still around. And he's just going to hug this hill. So a lot of knight upgrades coming from Tim. He's going to go double stable. He's going to go very aggressive here. Double stable takes quite a bit of economy investment. As you can see, Tim seeding up more farms, has a ton of villagers on gold. That probably means he's not going to go with the town center right away. And that could put him at a disadvantage later on in the game if the Viper decides to get a town center out early. Instead, we're going to see the castle, so we're going to see conquistadors versus knights, which is sometimes a hard... it's a hard game to play if you're Tim. Conquistadors are so good at hit and running. And it can be so efficient, you can keep your numbers up while you whittle away at the knights. And this is one of the hardest things to stop in Castle Age. How do you stop conquistadors? It's very difficult. Alright, here we go. Double stables pumping away for Tim. Tim has unfortunately got too many resources. 1,000 gold in the bank. Now this army is basically a throwaway army. You don't actually want to throw it away, but you want to get its money worth and then that's it. You don't want to overinvest into it. Tim does not know the castle is here yet. He's going to know in just a second. And there we go. Unfortunately, going to take too many hits from the castle. However, you have to keep in mind that Tim is completely walled, whereas the Viper is still kind of open. Towers are not going to do too much against knights. So Tim running around with his knights. Can't hit the stone, of course. Knows there are conquistadors in the area. And what do you do against conquistadors? 3 stables knights. It's very important at this stage that Tim keeps up his knight production. However, again, if the Viper wants to add another town center, as he has already done, could pull away an economy lead, because 3 stable knights is, of course, more expensive than 1 castle conquistadors. Take a look at the army up here. Tim's point of view. Got a mangonel here, it might take a little bit of a hit. Those archers are pretty useless against the knights. Maybe could pick off a scout. Actually, these knights don't have any armor, so maybe you can pick off a scout or 2, yeah. That's what I would try to do. And gonna take a big mangonel shot. But able to get 3 scouts, that's a pretty good trade. If you ask me. Him moving around the bottom side with his knights. And hopefully we'll be able to get a mangonel. Meanwhile, those conquistadors are on the wood line. Looks like no villagers went down in that particular scenario. And there are some knights waiting over here. Knights are going to pick off the mangonel. So far, a pretty even game. We had a small advantage for the Viper in the early game. The Viper really wasn't able to capitalize on that because Tim was putting pressure on with his archers and delaying that castle. Now that the castle's up, there are pretty sizable numbers of knights on the field to help defend. Back at Tim's base, still fully committed to 3 stable knights. Second town center coming up only about now. Knights are going to try to do a little bit of raiding. Get maybe 1 villager here. And these knights have good upgrades, so they can stay under the town center for a while. And this is pretty good. Look at Tim. He's raiding at 3 different spots. 1 in the town center on the top left, 1 in the top right. And these farms are idle because of these knights on the bottom. So normally you see the player with conquistadors really putting on the pressure, and here it's the exact opposite. Right now, military count 20 to 12. You always want to stay ahead in military count when you're going against conquistadors. And the Viper's really having quite a hard time with wood. So you can see none of his villagers are actually taking wood. This wood is almost out. Meanwhile, back at home, Tim continues to mass knights. And stay only on 2 town centers. He's now got a 10 villager advantage because of his raiding. And this could be the game changer, though, for the Viper. Castle in the middle of his base will help prevent the raidings. Certainly, Tim is not going to want to go anywhere near this area. And that'll double Conquistador production as well. But right now, villager count, 10 ahead for Tim. Still going to try to raid here. The castle is barely out of range. Conquistadors will follow. And we've got the quick walls from the Viper. So that is a little play that might change the game. A lot of these knights are pretty low. Conquistador is going to move under the fire of the castle. And Tim is going to lose quite a few knights there. That's 4 knights, 5, 6, 7 knights. Might lose another one. However, still at the right side, he is continuing to raid. Tim has pretty much... he knows he's not really going to be able to catch the Conquistadors as long as they run away. However, the Conquistadors have to be massed up so they don't take a direct fight. And it's hard to be at 2 places at once for the Viper. The economy constantly being raided. Weirbill now coming in from Tim. Getting a monastery and a few monks out. Things are a little bit messy still at home. There's only one gold mine here, 1 gold mine here. The wood lines are kind of hard to take. But hey, this is Arabia. The Viper's been very distracted. He needs to reseed his, or he needs to rebuild his mining camp. And Tim only now getting Bowsaw. So now is the part of the game where it might get a little bit more tough for Tim. He's done some great raiding so far. However, he's finding it increasingly difficult to raid the Viper. Now the Conquistadors are moving out, and Conquistadors can do tons of damage to Tim's economy, especially the wood lines. This wood line is completely exposed. This wood line is a little bit exposed, but the saturation on it is pretty poor as well. Luckily, Tim back at home. Still going fully on the gas with knight production. And in fact, he's even got this monk here to help heal up these knights. And in quite a few games that I've watched of him, he really makes good use out of his monks. He both goes for the relics early and also likes to heal his knights. So this is saving him tons of resources here. About maybe 30% of the HP is lost on these knights. If he's able to heal that up, that'll save him a lot of resources in the long run. And now the Viper is going to try to raid a bit at the bottom. Meanwhile, all of these knights are going to get healed up. In the north, at that 1 town center, I'm going to try to raid again. The Conquistadors are all in the south. They're not in the north to defend. And this is a particularly good raid as the villagers kind of get stuck on each other. So Tim maintaining that 10 villager lead. Despite only being at 2 town centers, remember. The Viper is on 3. It looks like the Viper has chewed a little bit of a hole through that wall. Tim is going to come in with his monks. Let's see if he's able to get a few conversions. Able to get 2. And the Viper is being too slow with his Conquistador. Is going to take a few extra hits when he shouldn't have. Tim with just a massive army now. Yeah, I checked. For this game, there were only 2 casters. I think Dreams casted this tournament, and Fiage. It's going to run back. And now maybe Tim is thinking about the Castle Age. Hopefully is. Let's take a look at the Viper's base at home. So yeah, he's got a lot more Conquistadors than he previously has had. These are approaching scary numbers of Conquistadors, where the Viper may no longer fear those knights as much. If you have enough Conquistadors to one-shot Knights, that certainly is a game changer. And a third castle back at the base to help protect from the raidings once again. Tim going for those relics nice and early. And he's going to go with that big raid on the left side. Actually choosing to go back. Wonder why. It's a little interesting decision to me. It looks like Tim's getting ready to click up to the next age. And let's see what damage he could do with these Conquistadors. Tim is Kiss BB. He was playing under a Smurf this game. VH is the spectator. The Knight's going to run in under the castle. Conquistadors attacking the wood line here. Not really finding too much. And Conquistador's going to run back. However, this raid could be a little bit devastating. The castles help. Viper's being careful and running back his villagers early. However, Tim could lose a lot of knights in this raid as well. Going to go for the town center. If he can take out the town center, certainly will grant him a lot of villager kills. But has decided against it as he's going to lose too many knights. And that's really something he can't afford. So Knight's going to run back. And right now, Tim, not enough resources to click up the next age, but is really getting close. Let's check the Viper. The Viper's really low on all of the resources. And even has some idols in his economy. Still a lot of knights to be able to take this fight. You have to be very careful with your Viper. You just want to hit and run. You actually don't want to stand and take fights. And the Viper getting the husbandry upgrade, Tim got that earlier, so that really allows him to dictate these fights. And here we go. So many knights from Tim. Sometimes you like to make a different army, like a mixed army composition, because this certainly can leave you open if your opponent wants to, say, do a halb switch. Certainly the Viper knows that Conquistadors are not nearly as strong in the Imperial Age as they are in the Castle Age, so might want to do a tech switch. And the Viper's probably going to see this huge horde of knights. So let's see how he reacts to this. And as you can see, the Conquistador's not really as scared, able to one-shot the knights now. We're going to run back to be safe. So the Viper right now sees full investment into knights. Has built his second barracks of the game, going to build his third, and investing into the pikeman upgrade. Now, if you're Tim, you have a feeling that your opponent might be doing this. You're showing full knights. The Spanish, of course, get Cavalier, get Paladin, although it can be very expensive. So you might want to be starting to think of a transition army, whether that's elite skirmishers or hand cannons. Elite skirmishers would certainly be a faster transition. But so far, Tim's not really showing that. He's instead going to go 6 stables, full investment in knights. And we'll see how that plays out for him. And the Viper's switching into pikemen. So a lot of resources here are invested into knights for Tim. That's so much gold invested into knights. Certainly he could lose a lot of resources if he takes an engagement against the much more efficient pikeman and later halberdier. However, once again, Tim healing up all of his knights. He actually hasn't lost a lot of knights throughout this game. I know the KD is 35 to 53. A lot of that was the useless feudal army. Tim has used his gold pretty well this game. So if he decides to go into Paladin, that'll certainly be a very costly decision. But with all the gold that he saved this game, might be one that pays off. And once again, going to go back and heal all of those very weak knights. Tim moving on to one of his extra golds, I believe. Remember, he got those 3 relics early on, so that's additional gold income. Going to build a castle over on the right side, securing yet another additional gold. That's 2 additional gold mines for him. Now, if you're going to go down the paladin route, you absolutely need to take additional golds on the map. You're going to be losing as far as gold efficiency in most scenarios, especially if you're going against halberdier. So you need to be able to have enough gold to make that really worth it. You're always going to lose as far as gold efficiency, but hopefully you just have access to more gold than your opponent. And there we go, Paladin upgrade. Again, it's not an upgrade you see very often in 1 versus 1. However, I think, it does make sense, considering, well, how many Cavaliers he has out on the field. And how much gold income he has access to. Now, it's critical that he maintains access to this gold, because otherwise, the Paladin is going to be a very expensive tech and might not pay itself off. If you lose all of your Cavaliers, then it's hard to gain back momentum against halberdier. It's important that Tim is able to maintain control of this right side gold. And here we go, Paladin upgrade coming. This might be a window of opportunity for the Viper. The Paladin upgrade is a slow upgrade. The halberdier can do some serious damage against the Cavalier at this particular time. Supremacy even coming in. Small group of halberdier though, not very many. And this is an interesting fight if Tim decides to take it. He's certainly going to lose a lot of gold in it. Although he will get rid of a lot of the numbers of the halberdier. There you go, half the army going to the left. This could be a very costly fight. He's lost a lot of gold in this engagement. Lost at least, what, 10, 12 Cavalier? That could have been Paladins. So it looks like a little bit of the momentum's going into the Viper's side. He's now 800 points up in the score. That is a lot. Here we go, Paladin upgrade is done. And now the Paladin's going to engage the halberdiers. There's no other units here to help take out the halberdiers. It just has to be Paladins. Trebuchet deploying onto the castle on the right of Tim. It's a critical stage of the game. Meanwhile, on the left side, a little bit of raiding going on. Tim, not surprisingly, has won this fight. His army is worth a lot more than the Vipers. However, he has lost a lot of gold. What you have to do is be able to finish the game relatively soon before your gold runs out, if you're going down this particular army composition. Castle's going to go to half HP, however. Tim should be able to save it. What the Viper needs to do, he needs a massive halberdier. He needs to just hold for a little bit as Tim exhausts all of his gold. Raiding on the left has been shut down. The Viper has moved out to, I believe, an extra gold mine. Or maybe that's his original, I'm not exactly sure. And still, yet more Paladin. Tim has essentially unlimited gold in this game because of those 3 relics, because he's taken the 2 extra golds in this map. And again, might choose to take this fight here. Needs to bring more Paladins, certainly. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Paladins going down. It's about 400 gold. Paladin's moving over to the left side. Tim now at 192 population. The Viper at a healthy 180. 63 Paladins for Tim. 45 army for the Viper. However, the army is of much lesser quality. 4 relics now for Tim. He's gotten the 4th one. On the top, a little bit of raiding going on. Finally, Tim has decided to switch into a counter to the halberdier. And that answer is going to be the hand cannon. Hand cannon, again, does cost gold, unlike the skirmisher. I think it's going to be hand cannon, at least. I see chemistry coming up. And and raiding at the top not really accomplishing too much. But right now, game pretty even. Scores are pretty even. Viper taking the Viper being taken off of this gold. Certainly very good for him. Castle did somehow go down to a trebuchet, though. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. Tim must have forgotten to repair his castle, and getting taken off of this gold is a pretty big deal. Tim, however, 2.5k gold in the bank. And finally, hand cannons able to make their way out. And Pound should be able to catch out these elite conquistadors. So this is a very unusual style of play on an Arabia map. This would be much more typical of, say, a map like Black Forest, where you don't waste any resources. And you have the time to be able to get these upgrades, the chemistry and the paladin upgrade. This is the most expensive army composition the Spanish can make. And once again, Tim going to go straight on into the halberdier. Going to lose maybe a few paladins. What he needs one big push or one big raid to be able to end the game. See, the Viper's playing different and worse. The Viper was a beast at this time. At 2012, the Viper was still a beast. But so was Tim. Everyone has good and bad games. Always making excuses for the Viper. Once again, healing up all of his paladins. This is, what, the third time in this game he's done this. Saved him, you know, an uncountable amount of resources by doing that. Castle's built basically in the same position. It's still very important that he takes all of this gold. He's even building a town center towards the top where there's an extra stone. Stone is good for castles. Stone, you could also sell it for gold. It's something that you definitely need. There is one gold mine on the left, which neither player has probably found, as it's so much in the corner of the map. Tim is okay with this, just going to heal up his knights. Going to take one more fight here. This time the hand cannons are involved, so they should help out quite a bit against the halbs. There's Spanish hand cannons as well, they fire faster. And without any doubt, Tim is going to win this battle, although he's going to lose a little bit more gold in the end. So what the Viper has to do, he needs to replenish his halberdier numbers fairly quickly. And now he's investing into the Captram upgrade. Let's take a look at the Viper's gold count. Still fairly low. Has been basically unable to mine this gold due to the ratings. And again, remember, he's down one gold mine, since Tim has taken an extra gold. And has no relics in the bank, unlike Tim. And we'll check how much gold those relics have granted him over the course of the game at the very end of the game. Bombard Tower now being researched by Tim. As if this army composition wasn't expensive enough. Now we can add Bombard Towers, which of course cost gold as well. Castle probably going to do its job. These are Supremacy villagers, so they'll be okay. Gonna take yet another fight against the Halberdier. And of course, another win, but losing a few more paladins. But importantly, keeping the Viper off of his main gold. Or the gold he's mining right now. And Tim's gold count is relatively high. He's now at 200 population. I think this is the first time this game he's been at 200 population. So if you're at 200 population with an army of mostly paladins, now is your time to push. No point in building any more paladins, as you can't really build over the population limit. So now is the time to push. Viper massing most of his army towards his castle in the middle. Sacrificing the left side, he's not really able to contest this gold right now. Hopefully he'll be able to take it later on in the game. And where is, looks like Tim might be going the side either for stables or for bombard towers to maintain map control. Wow. Unusual on the left-hand side of the map. Usually see bombard towers in the middle of the map. Certainly this hill would be a very good area for it. Once again, this is pretty funny. Tim's just gonna heal up his paladins. These paladins are worth so much that it's worth sitting here and waiting for them to be healed. Tons of bombard towers coming up in the middle of the map. So now actually Tim is making a big dent into his gold. 1,500 left. Used to be at 2,500. Both players are at 200 population. However, the quality, again, of the army of Tim, much higher. This missionary, yeah, it's pretty cool. And finally, Tim has found the last gold mine. Look at all the extra resources he's taken. Taken the stone, taken the extra gold, taken the extra gold here, starting to take this 1 gold over here. Now securing more map control with the towers. This whole game, Tim has had map control. And sure, those villagers are dead. However, Tim could just remake them and set them back to work on that stone. Villagers cost 50 food. You could lose quite a few of them. But it's much harder to buy stone. And nothing's going to get past this hill without running through the bombard towers. Luckily, it looks like the Viper has not seen this gold either. Yep, just waiting for his paladins to heal up. And what he could do right now, instead of wasting... oh my god, he's got 7,000 food. Instead of wasting resources on military, you can instead build these bombard towers, which don't cost any population space. Late heavy plow for oh no, oh no! Late heavy plow for the Viper. That's a big mistake. And I think just Tim is waiting for these paladins to heal up before he does a big push. Siege ram done from the Viper though, he's kind of pushing back. Hustler's done for Tim, so maybe eventually is thinking about the late game when he runs out of gold. And now Trebuchet's coming forward. The Viper might be overextending a little bit here. Maybe the Viper doesn't know how many paladins that Tim still has. The Viper is essentially, with this Trebuchet, with these rams, forcing his opponent to attack. Maybe biting off a little bit too much that he could chew. And certainly a bit of waiting around. You know, it's kind of interesting. Every minute that Tim waits, he's still gathering more gold from those relics. Still gathering that gold on the left. It's not the sexiest way to win a game, but it might be effective. Looks like this might be the one push. Let's see if the hand cannons decide to come up. That's going to be a big loss of gold. Here comes the hand cannons. Trebuchet is now pressuring the castle on top of the hill. That castle is guaranteed to go down with all these defenses on this hill. And let's see if the down castle is going to be enough for Tim to make his push. Still producing a few paladins here and there. Both of them just camping. Well, the camping pays off for... it's been paying off for Tim. Again, with all that extra gold he's collecting. Feels like an AI game. Yeah. I decided to show you 3 AI games. Poor villager. Okay, so this is the big push of this game. Much higher quality of army for Tim. He's still got 2k gold in the bank. So we'll be able to replenish some of these paladins once they go down. Castles are moving forward to help take out that... Sorry, trebuchets are moving forward to take out the castle. And certainly Tim should be able to win this fight. And is it going to be worth losing all of this gold to win this fight? And the answer to that is probably a heck yes. Once this castle goes down, that'll open up ratings. And there's the GG. Tim going to win this fight. Going to lose most of his paladins in the meantime. However, has just enough gold to be able to replenish. And enough hand cannons to keep this push going. Tim will lose, the Viper will lose a lot of his military production buildings here. There's also some raiding going on the left and right side. Still, again, paladins, not Hussar. Paladins coming in on the right side. Viper's doing everything he can to get these rams under the trebuchets. Nice raid here on the left side. Population 175 to 145. And cannons still are certainly very strong. Bombard towers now coming in on the right side under the military production. That's very annoying. The Viper, of course, with 0 relics, is unable to build siege ramps without using the market. Paladins pushing in on the left side. Tim! Taking his opponent's gold. There's only, what, 500 gold here, but that's still very useful. That's, what, 8, 9 paladins. A few bombard towers. Very useful. There's the actual GGs and GG. So, theme of this game, efficiency. Look at the KD ratio. 500 to 250 almost. Tim healing up his units multiple times in the very early game, deciding that scouts were not really worth the food investment, deciding archers were worth the food investment, and we saw both of those decisions pay off. Tim not losing a lot of knights in the Castle Age, maintaining his big bunch of knights, healing them up, not losing a lot of gold with respect to that, and then decided to go the Paladin upgrade, not taking too many bad fights against the Paladins, getting those 4 relics help, getting map control and all of the extra golds and stones on the map, you know, helped a ton. Otherwise, the strategy would not work. And then, finally, at the very end, taking one big fight, losing a lot of his gold units, but at the same time, enough to finish the game. And yeah, I hope you learned something from this game. And the importance of this game. This was a 2012 game. This was the game that actually decided the finals of the Masters of Arabia tournament. As someone said in the chat, this was the last game where the Viper did not dominate it. So after this was all the Viper in the tournaments. However, Tim was, of course, a legend during this time. And I hope this game did highlight that. So in the next game, we'll be analyzing a different theme of Tim's playstyle, some of which you probably saw in this game. And the theme we'll be analyzing is his defensive playstyle and his tendency to wall. See you then. Take a look at the achievements. That might be this series might be the series also where the "I grass your sister" was said, and of course a legend was made. If you don't know already, the reason why the Viper has grass as the beginning of every emote is because of the story where he had a big rivalry with Tim around this time, and Tim doesn't know English too well, so instead of saying something inappropriate, he said, "I grass your sister." So, that was pretty funny. Anyway, let's take a look at the military stats. Better KD. And again, the only reason that this works, army counts are the same. The only reason this works is because of this stat right here. Gold collected, double. Relic gold, 3,000 extra relic gold. That's the big difference in this game, in my opinion. Here's the timeline. The Viper winning a little bit in the early game, taking an early lead, then Tim. Then the Viper coming back a little bit, then all Tim. Alright, let's come out. The Viper says at the end of the series, GG well walled. Alright, give me 2 minutes and then I'll start on the next game. Next game is going to be highest peak ELO for Tim, 2.6k versus Chris. And again, he will lose at least one of these games in the series. That's how it's going to be for every series to keep you guys honest. See you 2 minutes and then I'll be back. All right. Hello, everyone. All right, I'm gonna load up the next game. Alright, in this game, this is going to be highest peak ELO for Tim. This is versus Chris in 2010. And in this particular game, I'll highlight the theme of map abuse. How Tim likes to abuse his map. And here we go. Hello everyone and welcome to the second game in this Tuesday player spotlight. The player of this week is the player Tim, and in this particular game he's playing against who I personally consider the third greatest Age of Empires player of all time, which is the legend Chris, or L Clan Chris, as he is known as. He is playing under the account Ben. However, I am 100% sure this is in fact Chris from when I downloaded the game. We'll do another day on Chris. Today is Tim's day. Tim is playing as the Mongols. We have a non-mirror matchup, which was not as common in the Age of Conquerors days. Chris is in fact playing as the Britons. However, both these civilizations are pretty much identical to their Rise of Raja's counterparts as far as balance goes. Very small changes with them. And in this particular game, I'd like to highlight Tim's ability to be able to abuse the map. We saw that a little bit in the previous game. The previous game was in Arabia Hun's War, where he did have a victory over the Viper, winning the Masters of Arabia tournament. This is a game from 2010, as opposed to the last game, which was from 2012. And in the last game, where he did win that game, we saw how Tim was able to wall up his map, how he was able to secure basically every resource on the map. And that's not without kidding. He was even at one point taking the Viper's third gold and take all the relics. And in this particular game, I'd like to highlight with you how Tim likes to abuse a map. Or as some people might say it, how Tim likes to wall a map. So this certainly is a very interesting map for Tim. Could be potentially wallable here, here, and here. One weakness, though, of his map, the wood lines are on the outside. He is, of course, in a big crater. His third gold, his second stone are, in fact, very far from his town center. And these could be all problems that present themselves later on in the game for Tim. And just talking a little bit about the civilizations, we have a Mongols and Britons war. Both these civilizations are kind of tier 2 on Arabia at this particular time with this balance. Mongols have a good scout rush. Pretty lackluster Castle Age. And then their Imperial Age is very strong. The Mangudai were as strong as ever in Age of Conquerors. And with the British have always been formidable on Arabia. Faster working archer ranges, good Dark Age with their sheep bonus, great Castle Age with their crossbows with extra range, with their cheaper town centers, and Imperial Age is fairly solid as well. So both these civilizations, some strengths, some weaknesses. We'll see how the players decide to handle it. Tim, interestingly, going for the deer first thing instead of the berries. He in fact went for the deer before going for the boar. Now the build orders at this time were pretty well established, so certainly this isn't one of those weird build order games from 2002. And take a look at Tim's scouting for this time being. So he does see he's in fact in a crater. Does see potentially where he might like to wall. In fact, he placed his first house here as he lured his boar. That's why the boar might have been a little bit later. So already thinking about where to wall. The question though is, what kind of strategy do you like to do if you have a map like this? Now, there's two ways of thinking about this. You could either do your regular strategy, just go as aggressive as you normally would, and just reap the benefits of having a map that is more defensible. Nothing wrong with that. Going more aggressive might punish your opponent if they have a map that is particularly bad. Let's see if Chris's map is particularly bad. Gold is forward, that's not great. Stone is forward. Woodline is okay, berries are okay. So neither a great nor a poor map. It does have a back stone and gold. So this is a pretty average looking Arabia map for Chris. Scout's actually going to get a little too cozy with that town center. Going to take a few extra shots. Probably should live. Yeah, we'll live. That can change your thinking on things by taking out your opponent's scout. The second mode of thinking is that, well, I've got a very good map here. Why not abuse it? Why not go up to the Castle Age real quick? Why not, why not do something that you normally wouldn't be able to do if your map was looking a little bit worse? And certainly, Tim is the player that likes to go along with the second line of thinking. So we'll see if he wants to go for a fast castle. He's, of course, got a little extra food with these deer. That'll definitely help out with any strategy he'll like to do, but particularly a fast castle. Weaknesses, though, to a fast castle. Again, the wood lines are on the outside. They are towerable. The berries are towerable. If you wall yourself in, you only have 1 gold within your base. And Tim is actually going for a very fast feudal age. So this makes better use out of his Mongols, Mongol bonus. And let's see what he decides to do with this feudal age. If you're going to go with the fast feudal age like this, then of course the question is, do you add archer range after, or do you add extra farms to go up for a faster castle age? And normally you're going this fast into the feudal age, you really don't wall off this early. That's something that's very unusual in itself. So that confuses me a little bit. Why do you wall off so heavily if you're going to go so fast to the feudal age? And 2, why is the barracks not being built yet? So that is interesting as well. There's the barracks. It will be late for scouts. You want to start the barracks when you're 60% up the way to feudal. And that scout is low from earlier. Tim's scout is low as well. I'm not sure exactly why. KD is still 0-0. So maybe Tim got a little too close to his opponent's town center as well. More walling from Tim. That is mildly annoying. Luckily, Tim did get 2 extra shots on that scout, and he's going to win that scout battle, which is great for him. More Militia Rush coming in from Chris. Again, at this time, 2010, the Dark Age Rush was the dominant strategy. You still see Dark Age Rushes in today's meta, but not nearly as common as, say, maybe the Men-at-Arms Rush. So 4 Militia out from Chris. Unfortunately, they're going to run into 2 wolves and very big walls. And there's that stable from Tim. No urgency in putting it up, though. In fact, he's even going to task this village to wall up. So walls are more important than the scouts, apparently, at this stage of the game. Tim has lots of resources to work with, though. And walls are fully up. That militia will... Well, the wolf should go and attack the militia, deciding not to for some reason. And a few scouts out from Tim. Let's take a look at Chris's base. Chris is already taking gold. This is a fairly typical British play. Not enough resources for a fast castle. Did not go late enough up. Might have enough, though. It's going to be close. Some very big walls from Chris. We'll keep an eye on those resources, see if he's going to have enough for a fast castle. And finally, first scout out of the game for Tim. This is fairly late for the Mongols to get their first scouts out. Tim has got the horse collar upgrade, though, so his farms are nice and efficient. That might have been that one wolf over there. And so far, the Dark Age Rush from Chris being fairly ineffective. Merely just being able to get out a little bit of scouting information. Perhaps they could be effective at getting through this wall. Might be worth it to upgrade to Men-at-Arms and add a Spearman. Composition. Tim, just gonna stonewall behind. Tim is not someone that is afraid of stone walls. You'll often see him stonewalling behind palisades. And I'm just walking around with the scouts at the moment. Not really finding too much to do. Might decide to battle these militias back at home. Not surprisingly, we have 2 archery ranges coming forward. And archers will be on their way out. So Chris did not have enough resources for a fast castle. And there we go. Tim going to clean up those militia. The militia were targeting the palisade for too long. Oh, thanks for the host, MBL. Very much appreciated. It's the second time you've hosted me this week. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. And if you're just joining us from MBL's channel, what I'm doing, this is a Tuesday spotlight on a particular player. Game 1 was the Masters of Arabia in 2012 versus the Viper, where I highlighted how Tim likes to be very efficient in his play style. This particular game, I'm highlighting how Tim likes to abuse his map. So every week we'll be doing a series of 3 games, highlighting different themes of particular players. One week, of course, we'll do MBL, but it won't be this week. And this particular game is from 2010, where he's playing the legend Chris. So Tim moving back and sees the exposed gold of Chris. And this is pretty cool. So Chris did lose his scout from earlier on in the game. Tim is actually building his archery ranges in the back. This is also something you see him do quite a bit. He likes to stonewall behind it and build his military buildings kind of out of view. Now, it wouldn't matter anyway because Chris, of course, lost his scout. However, this could come as a surprise to another player, not expecting archers in this situation. Oftentimes, the Mongols might go with a ton of farms and then just go knights later on. And right now, Tim not over-investing into scouts. He's just built 5. He's not going to build any more. Obviously, Chris is scared of these scouts as he's built 4 spearmen to help defend his very unprotected gold. I suspect once he gets the fletching upgrade, should be able to move out, maybe bring one of the spearmen with him. And there we go. So I'm going to move out right now. This is where Tim could be at a little bit of a disadvantage, as he just put up his archery range right now. He's invested into farms very heavily. So his opponent has a military advantage now. And remember, those woodlines are fairly exposed. These berries are fairly exposed. Perhaps maybe the archers can reach just a little bit. Probably not. They probably don't have the range. Tim is just going to keep roaming around. He has the mobility, of course. Looks like it's still open here for Chris. And now Tim going up to the next stage. So certainly because he's got a very wallable map, added a lot of farms early, able to go to the next stage faster, even though he is still doing the archer transition. These scouts just trying to be annoying. Hopefully Tim will see in time. Oh no, he's going to take a few hits. Yeah, going to lose one scout there. Still not paying attention. Might lose a second. That one was very close. Archers are not yet within range. However, a tower coming up. This will take quite some time for this tower to come up. However, can be very effective because remember, again, those wood lines pretty exposed. Now going over to earlier in the game, how Chris could maybe have played this game a little bit better. He had the military advantage with 4 militia early on. All of these wood lines are exposed. Sometimes if you like to go with a Dark Age Rush, you can upgrade them to man-at-arms. You can add a few spearmen and then add towers. That certainly would have been very effective, both because the wood lines are hittable by towers, and because Tim was so slow in getting out his first scouts. Old Tim is back. So here comes the 3 builders finally making their way across the map. I would not have made this decision, as I thought it would have been a little bit too late to send villagers across. But of course Chris is the expert and not me. And see how it works for him. Now this is the surprise for him. This is the surprise for Chris. These archer ranges, again, they were built way behind the walls. No way Chris could have known that Tim was building archers. In fact, Chris probably thinks that Tim is waiting for knights and holding out. So these archers will come as a big surprise. Tim has abused his map. Now it's time for Tim to take advantage of Chris's map. Chris's one exposed area. The wood line looks safe. Berries look safe. Back resources are safe. The one area that is exposed is this gold. And had Chris known archers were on the way, then perhaps he would have added the tower. And this is a very bad timing for Chris. Crossbow and bodkin arrow being researched right now. This could do a lot of damage. Check back at the bottom. Tower's actually not going up for Tim. That's unfortunate for him, and in fact he's going to lose 2 villagers. So a little bit of damage both ways. Spearmen taking out the scouts. There's only 4 crossbows left. However, they are doing quite a bit of damage. Those archers just going to run away. They don't want to handle the crossbows. A little bit of missed micro. And now Chris is off of gold. Villager count. Ooh, boy. Villager count still heavily in favor for Chris, so maybe 3, 4 for the advance up to the next age, but 2 or 3 deaths here. A lot of deaths, actually. Oh my god. A lot of deaths on that tower that didn't go up. 80 right now, 19 to 10. Important thing, though, Chris is off of gold. He doesn't have the gold in the back, though. And more unusual walls. Chris. Yes, this game is from 2010. Woodline's looking particularly bad as far as saturation goes. Finally looks like Mangonel out from Tim. Now this is such a difficult situation. This would be very lucky though if Chris is able to pick off at least one of these archers with the town center. That's exactly what he needs. Yeah, there you go. This is a particularly difficult situation if you're Chris. You need to be able to take out these crossbows because they're doing so much damage. But of course the crossbows have the extra range. Hopefully Chris can get a little lucky. So retreating with these villagers is not really an option. Gonna cause too much delay. And it looks like Chris might get a little lucky here and pick out these crossbows. If he takes out these crossbows, should have the military advantage. In fact, he already does have the military advantage. It's going to go up to about 30 to 15. And that gives him some hope in this game. As Chris is ready to click up to the next stage, has defended so far, might have to defend from another wave at his gold. It's really debatable whether this this aggression was worth it. I think it was, especially with the misplay of losing so many villagers onto the tower. This is a lot of resources invested in the Siege Workshop and the Mangonel. If it is in fact a Mangonel, it's a battering ram and a Mangonel. So I think this was a pretty good play from Chris. Spotlight Tuesday can be old games or new games. We'll definitely have probably a mix of both. Depends on the particular player and whatnot. I think next week we might spotlight the player Vivi, and certainly I'll be using some newer games for that. This is a 2600 plus ELO, actually. Pretty hard to imagine at this time in 2010. Nice crossbow raid from Tim, however, is losing a lot of his crossbows to some archers. Another villager going to go down, so that's what, 5 or 6 villagers, maybe 7. However, just trading off army for villagers. Now this could be a little bit of a pickle though for Chris. I'm sorry, for Tim. Tim has got the villager advantage. He's certainly got the economy advantage at this stage in the game. However, these are about to be British crossbows, and it's 26-9 military count right now. With all of these very exposed wood lines, is it worth it to be able to go after your opponent's villagers for an exchange of giving them such a heavy military lead with such a strong military as the British have? That is a good question. Looks like the Spearman will be able to get the battering ram. And tower does go up. Here we go, Bodkin arrow. Crossbow should be on the way. Looks like Chris might have a little trouble affording that. Town center coming up because they are nice and cheap. Chris needs to get back his gold income. He's certainly not taking enough gold to produce archers. And here we go. Chris is going to hit back now. Crossbow upgrade coming in. Even a Siege Workshop already up. Already ready to pile on the pressure. Now 3 archer ranges in the back. Tim has lost most of his army, needs to replace it. I would definitely go into elite skirmishers in this situation. Going against a British player. And a little bit of misfire as those crossbows definitely getting way too close to those British archers. And going to lose quite a few on the way back. So now the score's evening up a little bit. Still 10 villager advantage for Tim. This is old Tim better than the current one. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Tim is playing at a high level even today. Really had some good games against Leary the other week. Crossbow's finally going to make use out of that bad wood line. Going to pick off plenty of villagers. 4 villagers down. And that was with ballistics as well. Tim's going to try to do a little damage over here. Oh my god! Chris getting a bit axe now. That's terrible. That is terrible. Oh boy. Ballistics could certainly help out Chris quite a bit. Mangonels getting made though. This could be certainly a very strong push down the hill. Be able to take out the tower in an instant. This wood line is rangeable by anything. And I question Tim's decision not to make Elite Skirmisher. I think that would be a very strong upgrade. Of course, they were a little bit more expensive to produce because the upgrade was a little more expensive back in these days. It's still a worthwhile decision. Let's see the micro from Chris. Oh! Okay, able to take it. And should be able to hold that position. So Chris has cleaned up the threat from Tim. Going to move back his crossbows back into the middle of the map. Looks like a castle could be on its way. Chris has been on the stone since the early Castle Age. Or late Feudal Age. A castle would be very devastating on this particular map. Remember, forward gold, forward stone, crater, 2 wood lines, very exposed. Not a lot of areas to run for Tim. And let's see how this Mangonel dance goes. Not too good for Tim. And with all this extra army, certainly, if Chris wants to make a castle, he can place it wherever he wants. Tim, interestingly, making a transition to knights. Does he have a stable? He's got the 1 stable in the back. I assume he'll add more stables. Yeah, even with Chris not looking, this is not going to be a particularly effective Mangonel. And there we go, that should be enough stone for castle. Might be unlucky here, though! Oh, Tim just barely not going to notice it. Gonna only get 1 or a few villagers here. A little slow reaction from Chris. And now gonna move back. So it looks like this might be the location of the castle, as all these villagers come forward. The nice thing, though, with using all these villagers, you can take your opponent's gold, which will be great later on in the game. Now remember how Tim placed all of his military buildings behind his walls? Again, he's placed the stables behind the walls where his opponent can't see his transition. Again, I really don't agree with this army composition. I would have gone with the lead skirmishers before I went knights. Although it's pretty obvious that the crossbows are not working. Except for raiding. Looking for another small raid here. Not really going to find anything. And there goes that castle. So that is a great castle. Chris. And more knights coming out. They're pretty decently upgraded, but again, these are British crossbows. But what does Tim do in this situation? He's still looking for raiding. He's actually going to lose all of his army here. Or at least he should. It's pretty close. There are 2 skirmishers in there. It's going to be very close. No more micro needed. Yeah. So Chris is going to win that. Tim only basically with this army of knights will be able to take out 2 battering rams. Not a big deal. Town center coming up for Chris. Chris has the map control now. Has control over basically 2 wood lines. Tim is not even really taking wood from this wood line. However, Tim is ready to go up to the next age, and he does have a castle on his own, so maybe we'll be able to get a defensive castle and trebuchets. This is a very defensive playstyle from Tim. He's not going to go with the siege workshop and battering rams and tons of knights. No, he's going to wait till Imperial Age and say, you know what? I don't think you're able to breach these walls. I don't think you're able to come in here and do any more damage. I've got everything I need within these walls, at least for the time being. Now, of course, he'll have to push out, have to get another gold, have to have better saturation on his wood. But maybe he'll be able to accomplish that in Imperial Age. And I'm going to try to go back with these knights for now. Here we go, castle coming up. Obviously the walls are breached, but the castle is going to come in a good location. Is it going to be a Doubt Castle, though? Was Doubt Castle even a thing at this time? Probably not. 3 down. I don't know if the ballistics upgrade came in. I don't think it did. So Chris is going to save his crossbows at the expense of not killing more villagers. Here we go. Tim up to the next age. Has some good food, some good gold, pretty poor wood, extremely poor wood. Trying to do a little bit of raiding with these knights. The army composition in the late game is pretty interesting. For the Mongols, lead skirmishers will not have the last armor upgrade. Cavalier will not have the last armor upgrade. Neither of those are particularly viable against late game Arbalest from the Britons. Of course, their siege is good, but their siege requires what? A lot of wood, a lot of gold. Tim does not have a lot of that. Mangudai are good, but you're going to need at least 2 castles, and again, they'll require a lot of wood, a lot of gold. Let's see if Tim's at least able to get a lucky Mangonel shot. No. No way. No way, sir. Another castle coming up from Chris. Again, excellent castle position. Nowhere for Tim to run. And in fact, that'll help threaten the wood as well. Just place a few crossbows right there. And no more wood for Tim. Now, wood is the most important resource in Age of Empires 2. With wood, you make farms, you make buildings. You can't do anything without wood. So this is a big deal if Tim is not able to take his wood line. He's going to migrate all of his wood choppers, move them over where, though? To build a market. Over in the middle of the map, losing most of the knights. So Tim has really got invested into these trebuchets. They're basically the only thing he's really hoping for. Will they be enough for him to claw back this game, though? Let's see. We'll have to use the market to buy a little bit of wood, maybe sell a little food. He wants a second one. There we go. And we should see the first trebuchet pop out. Here it comes. At this point, I think Elite Skirmisher would be the best option, at least as a transitional unit. Instead, it looks like Tim is going to continue investment to Knights. In fact, going for the Mongol Cavalier is something very unusual. That last armor upgrade really is not that great. But they should do well as long as Chris is still in the Castle Age. So gold has run out. Food is fine. Let's check the market price. Food, you could sell it for 70, so that's decent. Tim just says no other purpose for these villagers other than to get wood. Maybe he'll try to move out over here. So Tim is at least going to wait for that Cavalier upgrade. And when this castle goes down, maybe can take a little wood. Maybe not. Cavalier almost done. Tim is, of course, going to go with the easy pickings, which will be these crossbows on the left side. Nice job from Chris, though, in not just holding his position, but also trying to push in where he can. Cavalier's done. The HP pool and the attack will be good enough to clear that up. And Chris is just going to repair that castle to buy a little bit of time. He's planning not, of course, of using longbowmen, but just this position. The longer he stays in this position, the more beneficial it is to him. And every second is another second that Chris is able to catch up in the military count, to upgrade his units. Catch up in the technology count, of course. And Chris is stealing Tim's third gold. So castle down to almost halfway. Unfortunately, Tim doesn't look like he could have afforded a second trebuchet. Second trebuchet would help out a ton here. Cavalier are on the bottom. We're going to pick off a mangonel. Don't want to lose those Cavalier, though. Don't want to run under another castle, either. Or do you? Maybe he's going to go for the villagers. Yeah, going to go for the villagers. Take the mangonel, of course, though. And probably going to attack the castle, maybe. We're going to go for the rams, okay. So that castle's now going to go down. There's no more repairers on it. Villager number is surprisingly even. I know that Chris has handcart now, so certainly his economy is a little bit better. I'm a little surprised at why Chris doesn't have more villagers. Maybe he wanted to go up to the Castle Age faster. It's only 2 town centers. There's a third one down here, too. I'm a little confused. These Cavalier are so low, though. I would love to see a monk to heal them up, just like last game. They're not going to accomplish too much raiding. HP pool is that low. And something interesting. So again, Chris, chosen this map, has gone with the faster Castle Age. Could have gave him an advantage, but did not play his cards right as far as his army control. So he's played his map to some of his advantage. And he's going to try to abuse the map a little bit more. He's found this gold over in the right side, and he's going to move all the way across the map over to this extra gold. And this is what you have to do. You're stuck in a corner, you have to get out of your corner. Sometimes you have to take risks and go with a migration with your villagers and hope it pays off. That's just what you have to do sometimes. Now some players, they might, some players like myself would would not want to take that risk, but not doing so might lose you the game. As Tim is going to need gold to win this game. He's going to need space too. This is a lot of space where he can place farms. Here, there's not so much space he can place farms. There's tons of buildings in this area. So castle is down. However, a trebuchet did pop out, which is important. Tim only has 2 trebuchets. Again, it's hard for him to afford gold. And now it's important for Tim to go target that other castle. 2 trebuchets out, though. This is going to be a great raid for Tim, though. Going to pick off quite a few villagers. Even up the villager count, maybe down to only a 10 villager lead for Chris. Again, he does have handcart, though. A repikeman is made, so these cavalier won't be very effective, especially... Oh, don't lead him to your town center! Don't lead him to your town center! Okay. Chris... Tim's a little greedy. He's getting both of these gold mines. You take this one, then maybe your opponent wouldn't notice, but you take this one? I'm not exactly sure. But that's a lot of gold income from Tim, when really he should have none. Chris probably thinks he has none. So third trebuchet going to deploy. These 2 are, of course, on the hill. The arbalests are going to defend these trebuchets very well. However, if Tim could somehow win this trebuchet battle, he'll certainly be in a much better position for this game. Finally, elite skirmisher being made. This might be the key for Tim. You know, maybe we could see siege ram as well with drill now that we have a good gold income. The wood income definitely needs to improve, though. I think that's the thing that's really keeping him behind. That range is insane. Is this far? What is this mill? And yeah, this town center will definitely help out with that wood income. Oh boy, losing 2 trebuchets. However, the castle did go down, so that is good. But at least Tim's not, you know, boxed in with castles. He's instead boxed in with his opponent's military. Oh boy, Tim making wheelbarrow now. That's, yeah. Chris's economy is leaps and bounds ahead. However, tons of gold income for Tim. He probably doesn't know what to do with it. He's got so much gold he doesn't know what to do. Maybe buy some wood. Wonder what the wood buy price is. Yeah, wood buy is 130, so not the greatest. No one's sold wood yet. Oh, I hate seeing that. That's the worst. Okay, so Tim, he's got his wood economy sorted through. He's got his gold economy sorted through. Although he's losing this gold now, I think he really needs to invest into some really strong military. Obviously, it's not going to be cavalry based as we have halberdiers already out. So I think skirmisher would be the appropriate option. Might even want to buy a little bit of wood to get things going a little faster. Castle looks like it's going to go down. I would try to repair that. And it's important to note, even though Tim has been losing, he should ideally have no map control in this match. He's still trying. Still trying to get map control. Trying to take these golds. This has certainly kept him in the game a little bit longer. Trying to take this wood over on the right side. Trying to expand out. That is what you have to do in these situations. You can't be content just staying in your own little base. We'll have to see something as far as military on the field for Tim eventually. Arbalest going to move in through the front. That's not so good. That is... man. That is not going to do anything against these Arbalest. Halberdier's not raiding at the right side. Not looking so good for Tim. Trebuchet's going to move out down the middle. Take out a lot of these military production buildings, splitting the base in half. If Chris had another castle, that would be incredible. Trebuchet's focusing on the right side. So that's going to be... Man, that's about a third of Tim's economy. Maybe a fourth. That could potentially go down on the right side. Yeah, it's really impressive he held that long with his army, fighting uphill. And that's a decent amount of Cavalier, and maybe if they had the +4 upgrade, they would fare better. Let's see if they're able to take out these Arbalests. I would send a few to go in front of the Arbalest to hopefully cut them off. Get a better saturation on them. However, those few Halberdier are going to make it much more difficult. Okay, so Tim took out the Trebuchets. He's still got this problem on the top side. Yeoman now being upgraded to make his Arbalest even stronger. And once again, not staying in his own base, not defending with Cavalier, but instead going to try to go out for a raid. Here comes that Bracer upgrade. I still haven't seen very many Elite Skirmishers, which, you know, again, I would love to see that a lot earlier. But certainly Tim's economy hasn't been right. Gonna move over to the top side. If he takes this engagement, he's gonna lose a lot of Cavalier. Instead, just gonna go for the Trebuchet. Gonna get that. And then there's really nothing else to do with these Cavalier. Can try to go for a raid. There's a castle here. This looks fully walled, actually. So can't get in there. Maybe you could try this town center. But the army is pretty close. And look at the map now. Just red streaming in from every angle. Tim forced against the edge of the map. Here's the castle. Castle's going to take out this bit of economy. And a castle here on the bottom wood line. Normally, you'd never place a castle this close to the edge of the map with no gold or stone around. However, Chris definitely knows how important this this wood is to Tim. They're not just going to place a tower, going to place a whole castle. Look at the wood lines. No wood here, no wood here. This castle is definitely going to threaten this wood line if Chris wants to bring a few Arbalests forward. What is this? Tim seeding farms in the north side of the map. That's pretty funny. And otherwise, you know, Chris would never notice that. Why would Chris ever look in that corner? No reason. Handcart finally being made by Tim. Tim managed to win this. Yes, you're about to see the most incredible comeback in the history of Age of Empires. How lucky are you guys? There isn't a lot to be said right now. I mean, the only thing keeping Tim in this game are these Cavalier, which can get some good trades like this if they're in the right place at the right time. Maybe even pick off a few Trebuchets. But really what they're doing is kind of delaying the inevitable. They could never go to toe-to-toe with the Halberdier or with the Arbalest. Not only because Tim doesn't have the resources to replace them, but also because these are pretty weak Cavalier. Now Capgram coming out. That should be the killing blow. Chris could, of course, take back his golds, or these extra golds. I'm pretty happy these farmers were able to collect their resources, though. They're able to have nice, happy lives, despite where they came from. They're kind of refugees. 3 relics, 3 castles, my bad, for Chris. And Tim just gonna resign. No GG, just resign. So I hope you enjoyed this game. As I said, there's always going to be at least one game in the series where the player we're showing will lose, just so you guys aren't sure who's going to win or who's going to lose. I thought this game was a decent demonstration of Tim's ability to you know, even when he's pushed against the edge of a map, to able to try to take map control. Certainly he abused his map in the early game, going for a faster castle age, although that didn't exactly pan out for him. But he did abuse his map with stone walls, with walling extra early on, walling out the Dark Age rush. Abused his opponent's map by going for his gold early on. And was able to luckily build out his economy towards the side, give him a good chance in this game. So hopefully that'll demonstrate the second theme I would like to point out about Tim's playstyle is great map awareness. And in the third game, we'll look at the last part of the last theme of Tim's playstyle, which will be either full defensive or, in this case, full aggressive in the next game. We'll see that soon. All right, let's take a look at the achievements. So Chris showing us why he's a legend. Not much to say here. Better economy from Chris all around. Nice feudal age from Tim, but could have been faster. Villager high never able to exceed 100 is Tim. 5 castles for Chris. Here's your timeline. So Tim taking the lead in the mid feudal age, mid castle age, and then downhill in the imperial age. All right, I'll take a 2-minute break, and then we'll move on to the last game. And I'm back. I did forget to mention about that last game. That game was the one loss that Tim had in that series against Chris, and that was a series he played 3-1 against Chris. And by the end of that 3-game series, he did, of course, reach 2.6k, which was insane at that time. In 2010, of course, there was a less of a player pool, so reaching a ELO of 2.6k was pretty insane at that time. And that was the one loss he had in that series. So in this last game, in the first 2 games, we've seen how Tim likes to abuse his map. He likes to be able to perform strategies that would otherwise be risky. Likes to use stone walls, likes to take extra resources, take his opponent's resources at times, and even when he's losing, likes to try to expand out across the map. And in the first game, we saw how efficient Tim was with his units, healing them up, not taking poor engagements, making the right unit compositions, and then discontinuing them when they're not effective any longer, and really upgrading his units, when it might be very expensive, say, to go for the Paladin upgrade, and but really maintaining a good amount of units and not wasting his gold. So he's a very efficient player. In this game, I just want to show you, if you saw these first 2 games alone, you might think of a player that is extremely defensive. And yes, Tim is mostly a defensive player, but there are times where he can get very aggressive. In fact, so aggressive that, I don't know, you might want to just GG right there. And this is one of those games. This is a game I found in the classic section of AoE Zone, so you know it's got to be good. And it's a game he played against Ra in 2010. So without further ado, get started. Here we go. Hello everyone, and welcome to this 3rd game in this Player Spotlight series, spotlighting the player Tim for this week. Today he's going to play a Nomad game. This is a game from 2010 against the player better known as Ra. And Ra was certainly one of my favorite players to watch streaming back in 2012, 2014. Doesn't play or stream so much anymore. Very outspoken personality, and you might see that a little bit in the chat later on in this game. This is a Huns War. Nomad used to be an extremely popular map. It's still popular, but not as popular as it used to be. It's a fairly crazy map, as there's a lot of randomness involved. The map looks extremely different every game. The resource distribution is different. But more importantly, let's talk about what I wanted to highlight in this game about Tim's playstyle and why I chose this game. So in the first 2 games, we saw how efficient Tim could be with keeping his units alive, taking good fights, not spending extra resources on military once it's not useful, and healing up his units to be able to, play the long game with the resources. We also saw in the first 2 games how he's able to really abuse his map, go for strategies that you would only be able to do on, say, like a really closed map. Likes to stonewall his map, likes to hide his military choice from his opponent behind his walls. And also, when he's losing, likes to still try to be able to go out across the map and take those extra resources. Does that in every game. In this game, I want to be able to paint a little bit of a different picture of Tim. He's not always just a defensive player, but sometimes he can be crazy aggressive. And let's go over to his point of view over here. And hopefully in this game, you'll be able to see that as well. So he certainly can be a very conservative player at times, a very smart player, but at times also be unpredictable and very, very extremely aggressive. Sometimes to the detriment of himself, but for the fun of us, that'll be good. So this map is Nomad. We did talk a little bit about it. They're of course talking. Any game that you see with Ra, there'll be a little bit of trash talk in there. So I hope you enjoy that. And of course it's Nomad, so it lends itself to that. On Nomad, you want to be able to find your resources nice and quickly, and it's really the epitome of what I think Age of Empires is. You start out with just a few villagers, resources across the map. You have to decide, how you're going to take your resources. You can take different kinds of food. It's a nice balance between, water and land. It's really a map that I think really well defines Age of Empires, and scouting is exceptionally important. So in this game, Timmy's got 2 deer, going to take those at first, build the mill on his berries, can take the deer from the mill, and the shorefish from the mill. However, I don't think he has a dock right away, so he's chosen to go with the mill over the dock. Can't really blame him considering he has no sheep to start this game. Usually you have more sheep than this. Ra has not had particularly a great start either. He doesn't have that many sheep either. Usually you see players with 5 or 6 sheep. Instead, he does have 3 boar, though, and is taking quite a bit of wood. I don't think he has a dock up either, but is looking to get one up. You want to get your dock up nice and early on Nomad. That way you can build your economy, both from your town center and from your dock. Could I turn on friend or throw colors? I absolutely can. There we go. We have Tim in red and Ra in blue. And whoever gets up the dock will have a little bit of advantage in this game. This is a Huns War. That's probably why you don't see the docks early enough. Huns are probably one of the worst civs on Nomad, and normally you don't say that for any map with Huns because they're a pretty good civ, but because they start out with extra wood, that really hurts their start. And it's a little slower start on Nomad. They'll have some time. What we can talk about, though, is the map. Both players are extremely close together. They're within the same screen, even. So this is going to be a fairly aggressive game, an extremely aggressive game, even. Ra has a nice wood line here. And same thing for Tim. Nice wood line. Tim has access to stone. And zero access to gold, which is extremely unfair. But hey, that's Nomad. You see some golds here on the right side, but that's going to be very hard for Tim to access. Much easier for Ra to access. So already an inherent advantage for Ra, just by where he's placed his town center. It's a big advantage, too. Got his dock up sooner. That's very good. Looks like Tim is about to place his dock right pretty soon as well. I forgot to mention, Tim does like the map Nomad. He's played quite a few games on Nomad. He's fairly well known for that map. So it's good to see a little bit of variety from the two Arabia games we saw earlier. Oh, Tim killed Ra's villager at the very beginning. I don't know how you saw that. I guess that's what the trash talk was for at the beginning. Yeah, look at the KD. Yeah, that's pretty obvious now. So forget about what I said. This is more or less an even game then. Losing a villager is a big deal, but certainly these golds are certainly a very big deal as well. Him getting his first dock up on the left side. Let's take a look at their scouting. Scouting is so important. You need to find your opponent. You also need to find where gold and stone are, as well as a good place to place your dock. So we have found gold, if we're Ra. Have we found stone, though? Doesn't look like we have found stone. And imagine if there was a stone right here. If there was a stone right there, Ra might be considering tower rushing. Otherwise, you know, it completely changes your strategy based off your scouting. Where is the stone anyway for Ra? On map. Miss stone at the very top. Oh, here we go. Stone is right here. There's all the sheep too. So Ra's not really able to see stone. Take a look at Tim's scouting. Tim's able to see his gold. He, of course, decided to sacrifice this villager's, you know, work time in order to be able to get better scouting. It's something you have to be able to sacrifice on Nomad. I hate doing it. I hate scouting with villagers, but it's something you have to do. And those sheep are going to go away, which is unfortunate for Tim, as Ra was doing the exact same thing. So we'll take those two sheep. Who won the last game? Chris won the last game. Alright, so both players gearing up to the next age. Oh no, Tim! Tim is about to, unfortunately, find his opponent's town center, and Ra will have a little bit of payback. If I would just try to blend in. Blend in, kill the sheep. Oh, man. Oh, boy. KD now 1-1. Unusual, you see 2 kills already in the Dark Age in a Nomad game. A nice fishing economy from Tim. It's got 3 fish out. Ra with 3 fish out as well. Both these dock positions are fairly good. Certainly we might see some galley wars. This is Age of Conquerors, so no fire galleys. For better or worse. And I'm gonna supplement his food income with some deer. Having trouble getting up to the next age. He has very little food income coming in right now. Trying to really saturate these berries. Gotta do what you gotta do. Chris also having a little trouble with food. These boars help a lot, though. That'll be enough to get it up to the next age. Let's see who's able to go up first. That could be a big advantage if you're up to the next age first. You're able to unlock galleys, unlock towers. Those are the 2 big ones. Here we go, mining camp. See, does Ra have a... He needs to build this building to have the second building to go up. I always forget that on Nomad. Every time. Build the lumber camp as well. Hopefully this will be done by the time that boar runs out for Ra. Tim already has his buildings, of course. These villagers are going to have to walk all the way back, but it should be enough food to go up the next age. Once they get in. Yeah, there you go. However, regardless, Ra is up to the next age a little bit faster. That could be an advantage if it comes down to a galley war. And it certainly will, with both these docks right on top of each other. Every second counts. Fishing 7 to 9, so 2 more for Ra. You lose your fish early game, that's like losing a third of your economy, essentially. Which can be a good game. Interestingly, Ra going up with a barracks. That's a big investment. If you want to go full galleys, then certainly you wouldn't go with the barracks. You have quite a few villagers on gold. Looks like Tim might have been thinking about taking that gold. He's actually going to take these other gold, which is pretty lucky. There's more villagers in this area. Might also find these sheep. But I'm liking Ra's strategy. I mean, he's already got a barracks up. He's got a gold income going. Going to be faster to the next age. Tim has a lot of idle time going towards this gold. Not like he's going to be able to fine-tune how many gold miners he has either. He might have too little, might have too many. Because those villagers are so far away from the town center. And let's see what damage Ra can do with his earlier feudal time. This villager over here could be preparing a tower. What is he going to do? Even a palisade wall right there would be so annoying. Or a stone wall. The town center, though, what are you doing? 3 villagers going to the left. Bidax coming in. And those galleys should be out momentarily. Here we go. Archery range coming up from Ra. Archers can stand here, stand here. And the first galley should be out momentarily. Both docks right next to each other. I've never seen that before. Okay, so it's going to start damaging that fishing ship. That's going to be 1 fishing ship down for Tim. Going to go 9 to 6. And as well, this galley's kind of on its own. Here we go, 3 galleys together. All about the micro in these early galley battles. So you want this one to be a runner. This galley's not doing anything. This galley's the runner. So Ra taking an early lead on the water. Going to take his first galley from Tim. Tim not really reacting. We have a tower battle. That's what's going on down over here. This tower gets up. That could be devastating. This archer behind's really going to help out. Is this tower going to go down? If you see a tower go up, you have to make a decision. You have to either go for it or run away immediately. No time to think. And Tim has gone full commitment with taking down this tower. Doesn't care if he's going to lose a villager. He needs that tower down. This tower does so much for Ra. Takes away the wood line. And with these 2 archers here, even without fletching, and the repairs here, tower is still going down though. 110, 80, 60. 1 villager goes down though. Oh, that was still worth it though. That was worth it for Tim just to get that tower down. Any hesitation with that though, like 2 seconds of hesitation would be like 2 more arrows that the archers could fire, and that might be it. However, Tim is still not in a good position. Another archer range coming up. Another tower could be coming up. Although, looks like it won't happen because there's no more stone being collected. Tim is going to try his own tower, but that's a terrible position. Would have been good if that tower got up and Ra did not see it. However, that did not happen. That tower will get taken down immediately. No amount of repairing is going to keep that up, especially with no archers to support. It's a terrible position for Tim this game. Absolutely dreadful. At the very least, though, he might be winning back the water. It's hard to tell. Now going to be 4 on 4. This one's pretty weak. We have 2 archery ranges pumping away from Ra, and no military buildings out from Tim. None at all. So what's Tim going to do? He's going to wall. He's going to do what Tim does best. Wall those villagers out, and they should be safe. These villagers will hopefully be safe behind the town center. The problem is how you can't seed farms here. You're going to have to seed farms in the back somewhere. Assuming you don't win the water, of course. The water is still so important. Luckily, these gold miners are safe, although they are collecting a bit of a surplus of gold. That's never good. Those archers could be annoying behind the wood line. Don't run into the town center, though. So they'll be very annoying. And it looks like Ra is winning the water, though. So these fishing ships could be in danger. Those fish, luckily, have run out, so they're going to want to move to another dock anyway. But it's so hard to come back in water in, I think, AOC. It's much easier in the newer balance to come back because you have demo ships. You can garrison things in the dock. But it's really hard in Age of Conquerors. First military building coming out from Tim. It's going to be a barracks. And what is he doing? I said this match is going to showcase Tim's full aggression. And this is the second time he's kind of just going to use villagers to batter down a building. This is an archer range going down. Archer's going to come out, but there's too many villages here. Can't stop the mob. Tim's still trying a bit on the water. Wants to make sure these fishing ships are able to collect as much fish as possible. Just going to run back the weak villager. No fletching's done. These archers have to walk all the way around to get to the left side. There we go. Archer range coming up from Tim now. And there was a pretty poor position on that archer range. Why place the archer range there? Why not place it here? Another archer range coming up from Ra, though. Not a big deal for him. This helps to equalize things, but I still like Ra's position. Well ahead in the military count. And, of course, Tim should go with skirmishers to counter the archers. But the problem, though, is Tim is still taking so much gold. These are essentially wasted villagers if he's just going to make skirmishers. Why are you taking so much gold? Really essential that Tim is able to keep these fishing boats working, because, again, he's not taking any food income at home. He needs to keep these fishing boats working, otherwise won't be able to create villagers. It's still pretty close here. It looks like Ra's going to take this. Tim is, of course, running back with his fishing ships. Only has 2 left. That said, Ra only has 4 left. And a few farms coming up. But Ra will be good on villager production. Skirmishers with good upgrades. Able to push back these archers. Though, Ra can start adding fishing ships, and that certainly would be very beneficial for him. Go 4-2. So Ra gonna go back for now. Gonna add some skirmishers to his own, get padded archer armor. Should be able to push out then. Ra has had so much less idle time this whole game. He should have a lot more resources to play with. But Tim has 600 resources in the bank. Ra doesn't have that much more, but again, I think he'll have more in the coming few minutes. And certainly a tower in the middle might even be something that's worthwhile as well. This is a very bad fight for Tim. Why is he taking this fight? I have no clue. Gonna lose a lot of his army. Gonna lose even more of his army. That archer could be dead. It's dead. Now military, 14-5. Both players still investing heavily onto water. Tim adding another dock. That's a cute place for those fishing ships to take shore fish. But hey, it works. Yeah, pretty crazy Nomad game so far. It's about to get crazier, though. And in the bottom, just trying to take as many resources as possible. And look at this, 3 archery ranges from Ra versus only the 2 of Tim. With fletching, these archer units are being very annoying. This woodline is extremely inefficient. So it looks like Tim has added the extra dock, whereas Ra has chosen to add the extra archery range. We'll see how it pays off for each player. Right now, most of the damage coming from Ra, though. Ra is still able to take his fish, luckily. Villager count is 4 ahead for Ra. Both players on fairly high villager counts for a feudal game. And even a stable coming up. What? A stable. For Ra. Is he planning on going scouts or planning on Castle Age? Because he certainly could do either. I would go with Castle Age with these resources. We just think about a knight later on. And there we go, Castle Age coming in for Ra. Where's Tim? Is Tim close to going up to the next stage? Tim is nowhere near going up to the next stage. So will we see a GG from Tim as soon as his opponent hits the Castle Age? I don't know. How could you be this far away from Castle Age, though? Military count, pretty similar. Or Scholar coming in only now from Kravitz. That's okay. From Ra. Happens. What do you do if you're Tim in this situation, though? You keep adding farms? Do you keep adding archery ranges? There's a lot of skirmishes on the field for Ra. It would be very useful if you saw that to go scouts, but scouts will keep you in feudal age forever, and you can't win a game being in feudal age forever. Or can you? So 2 stables coming up from Tim. He is still nowhere near going up to the next stage. And at this point, he's gone he's gone full aggressive. You've got to make a decision when you're this far behind in the game. Either you're going to save up and, you know, try your best to defend for those next 10 minutes where your opponent's in the Castle Age and hopefully be able to catch up later. Or you're just going to go full feudal age, go full aggressive, hope you can do the damage, and hope your opponent can't afford too many of his upgrades or too many of his strong Castle Age units. And Tim has opted to go full aggressive here. Bloodlines coming in from Tim, but at the same time, Elite Skirmisher, Bacanero, and a better economy with Bowsaw coming in. And really, there's nothing to counter Elite Skirmishers. When you have this kind of upgrade disparity, there is nothing to counter, you know, these kinds of upgrades. An Elite Skirmisher can take out scouts if you have enough of them. And of course, they will destroy unupgraded skirmishers and archers. No crossbow upgrade coming in, though. I would like to see that. Tim is going to take this fight, and so is Ra. Ra only has Elite Skirmisher. He doesn't have the crossbow upgrade, didn't get the extra armor. Tim has the hill here, so he has enough attack. A few knights coming in, though. This siege workshop was temporarily denied. I think these knights should turn the tide in this game. Everything pointing to Ra taking this game right here in this one big fight. Luckily, Tim with the foresight to add a few spearmen. Most of the skirmishers are down. Of course, that crossbow upgrade did not come in. And those spearmen doing some work. Looks like the knights will go down. Nice micro from Tim. Nice being on top of that hill. That hill really saved him. Being aware of the map, of course. And somehow, against all odds, Tim somehow won that fight. Despite being, you know, equal military numbers, better upgrades, stronger units for Ra, Tim somehow won that fight. But that is kind of a small victory, as knights are pouring into his base. No upgrades yet. Cavalry archers are now being made. Tim still with basically 0 food in the bank, and now his economy is being raided. Villager count is dead even. Military count much higher from Tim, but what's the quality of this army? It's spearmen. The spearmen are doing work, man. What? 3 spearmen taking out 3 knights and 2 cavalry archers? That's incredible value. Yeah, this is a pretty crazy game. So that knight not being effective. Okay, Tim can get his economy back working again. Those villagers still, of course, working on the right side. So right now, if you're Ra, you need a few upgrades on your units. Your knights will be much stronger with +1 armor. You should already have bloodlines at the stage, but you don't. A siege workshop would be incredible. You know, with a Mangano. Just knights and Manganos would be so strong. So Tim investing even further into the feudal age, getting forging. 3 barracks pumping away with spearmen. Never seen this on a Nomad game. Still pumping away with, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 military production buildings. Scale Barding armor coming in. On the Knights, gonna go for another raid. A lot of these villagers are pretty low. They should get some decent villager kills. Back on the water, there's just no way to contest fire ships. So Tim is gonna lose his fish. That was a big part of his economy. Archer's gonna do their best, but these Knights still will get a few additional kills. You're gonna get some kills on these Archers. I think the Archers are only doing, what, 2 damage? Spearman gonna get another Knight, though. That's lucky for him. And Tim is stabilized, but he's stabilized in the feudal age. He's not going up to the castle age. Still making scouts. Playing on a big attack. It's even harder with an extra town center being built. An extra 2 town centers being built. It's hard to raid under town centers. And of course your opponent is gaining a military advantage. Knights do so well against scouts. With that 2 melee armor. Those scouts going down on the right side. Keep here. So now, oh, Tim has been full on the, not only he's been investing fully into land army, he's also fully invested into water army as well to protect those 9 fishing ships. And that's a lot of galleys. Enough to take down even fire ships. So these fishing ships will continue to work. That's great for him. Finally going to unleash all of these scouts. They're fully upgraded for the feudal age. They're not going to like the town centers too much, but maybe they can get a few villager kills under them. Right now, just not enough military from Ra. By going 3 town centers, you're putting most of your food and wood economy into the town centers. And really sacrificing your ability to make armies. So perhaps 3 town centers was too many. Ra trying to get his food economy even stronger, adding more farms. They are a little bit exposed, though, to these scouts. The scouts are moved around on the backside. They're going to choose their angle wisely. There's no way you could fight this with knights. You're going to need a mangonel, a scorpion maybe. Tower coming up from Tim as well, so he's really going all out. Scam mail coming on the spearmen. Where do those scouts go? The scouts are going to hit the gold, and that's going to be great. Might get 1 or 2 kills, cut off the gold production of Ra. Still extremely hard though, because Tim is still stuck in the feudal age. Ra has 3 town centers, should be taking the villager lead. Should be able to afford his upgrades. There's still something in that siege workshop, I'm not sure what. Town center, see, able to do some work. Do a lot of work, in fact. Taking out half of the army of Tim as he's not paying attention. And this could be some very good damage from Tim, though. What is Ra still doing with these villages in this area? With Tim's army in the area? Those knights are not nearly strong enough yet. Should be able to take out the scouts, but the problem is the spearmen. Why not, if you're Ra, why not keep adding these elite skirmishers? They're not going to be very good against the scouts, but you combine them with the knights and suddenly you've got a deadly combination. That tower, unfortunately, within range of the town center. But it's a nice idea. It'll take away a lot of farms. Looks like the water has been almost completely won by Tim. We could add in maybe another dock to make this more efficient, though. Towers coming up in the south? Wow. Those towers are going to do a lot of damage. Ra's going to think he can batter this one down, but no, he can't because there's another tower in the back. So he's going to have to walk away from that. Although the knights are going to come in over on the right side. Raiding has stopped in the south. So what Tim can't have right now is to have Ra stabilize. If Ra stabilizes, his economy is just going to take off. And it looks like these two towers will go down, so that's not successful from Tim. Villager count now only 4 ahead for Ra. It could jump ahead at any moment, though, with 2 extra town centers. Look at the mob. Look at the mob taking down the town center. Another tower coming up to help take away a lot of these farms. Tim really not giving a damn about going to Castle Age. Getting another upgrade, yet again, stone mining. Still producing scouts from all of his stables. Has tons of scouts now. And with this many scouts, might even think about, you know, staying under the town center a little bit longer. But not too long. As you can still see, the town centers still do a lot of damage. These knights are very deadly. Would like to see bloodlines as the next upgrade. Right side towers were taken down. Ra still has all of this access to gold. I don't know where Tim is getting gold at this stage of the game. Looks like he's going to try to take gold on the left side of the map. Going to build a nice dock here, which will grant him a lot of fish. And towers creeping all over the left side. All of these farms now useless. Ra, if there's one resource he needs food. He needs food for his 3 town centers, he needs food for his knights, and for his upgrades. Ra is 20 villagers up, though. Although that's about to go down a little bit. The 2 towers in the back were a distraction, maybe. A lot of spearmen. Look how little damage the scouts do versus the knights, though, even without +2 armor done. So this area seems pretty critical for Ra. If I was Ra, why not stonewall this? You could stonewall a little bit and certainly help yourself out a lot. I'm gonna drop another tower. It looks like these knights are really doing their job. Where'd the spearmen? Oh, the spearmen are still here. Okay, they're fine. Again, no elite skirmishers from Ra. That's something I would like to see. Tower coming up over here, so really going all the way around the map. That tower certainly does a lot. Clears up these 2 farms. And maybe even these 2 if it can reach. Yes, he does like to wall out the heck out of Arabia. So Knight's going down to the Spearman. Predictably, did Tim take his foot off the gas, though? No, he's still making scouts. They're just stuck at home. He lost a lot of them, though. And look at the raid here! Oh, I missed the raid! Oh my god! What in the world happened here? These are all recent corpses. That was a huge raid from Ra. Look at the villager numbers. It's 55 to 35. 35 villagers from Ra, from Tim. He must have had 35 villagers maybe 25 minutes ago. He's gone back 25 minutes in development. From an economy standpoint. My god. Even gonna get even more villager kills here. Every villager is essential for Tim. Every villager. The whole point of this push was that he had a better economy, was able to raid more. Now it looks like the tables have turned a little bit with this huge night raid. Tim forgot to leave some spearmen back at home. Look at Tim's resources, barely coming in anymore. Hopefully these towers are doing so much. Gonna send even more knights into the back of the base. There's a few spearmen here. There's enough spearmen here to defend, it looks like, for this particular one. And this is a nice little bit of economy. It is exposed, but it's working nice and efficiently, at least. Another siege workshop coming up, probably for some rams. Again, still would have liked to see a lead skirmisher. I have to press that in. And that's really not enough knights to take on this many spearmen, scouts. There probably aren't a lot of villagers under these town centers anymore because these town centers are pretty useless with all these towers around it. Look at how many towers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 towers. And that's going to be another victory for Ra. Well, with 2 town centers basically useless, Ra is essentially down to 1 town center now. Scout's going to move into this undefended area. In the back of the base, he's going to lose so many villagers here. Another tower coming up in this area too, just to secure things even better. While that army's distracted, looks like Ra is going to try to take out a few of these towers. But look at how many villagers are going down. And I think this is where the scores switch. Tim is going 200 points ahead, 300 points ahead. Tim might even have more villagers in just a minute. How incredible is this? Tim with this crazy aggressive play, full feudal, crazy raiding, full investment to every unit he can possibly make in feudal age, including on the water, has somehow brought him back in this game. And who knows if he's even going to go to Castle Age this game. We're almost an hour in the game and one player is still in the feudal age. And that player is Tim, and he's winning. That is pretty cool. So Ra still with the 3 villager advantage, still with the tech advantage though. I wouldn't call this game over with the 3 villager advantage and a tech advantage. Although, Ra's economy, I don't know, it just looks anemic. Even though he's got 3 extra villages, it just doesn't look like a healthy economy. That said, Tim's economy doesn't really look impressive either. I don't know what I'm expecting to see. In fact, he's only got 3 gold miners. Most of this has been scouts and spearmen, of course, not a lot of archers. The scout's going to take out those archery ranges. And are things stabilizing a little bit for Ra? Got good food, good wood, good gold. That's unfortunate with these galleys, though. They're in the perfect position. More villagers coming forward from Tim. Could take away these recently seeded farms. But look at the population. Population 50 to 100. These galleys will help out with this tower so bad. And this tower creep just could continue to come forward and take away more and more farms. That's exactly what Ra doesn't need. Here comes the scouts. Should be enough scouts to take on the knights. Are there any other knights on the map for Ra? Got 7 military. All the knights going down, and no GG, just resigned. Ra resigned. What an incredible game from Ra. What an incredible game from both players, but what an incredible game from Tim. I hope through this game you're able to see, you know, a little bit of the other side of Tim. Sure, he could be a very defensive, a very conservative player, a player that prides himself on being very efficient in fights, being, you know, behind walls, but also is able to ramp up the pressure when he needs to. And I hope you learned a little bit about the series, about this particular player in this series. Next week we'll be covering another player. I'll probably be doing the player Vivi on next Tuesday. And I hope you enjoyed the series. If you're on my YouTube channel or on Voobly Official's YouTube channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. and see you soon. After this game, Rock quits AOC. Not quite yet. That was 2010. AD ratio, economy. Better food economy for Tim, notably. Most of that went into villagers that died, though. More gold for... Much more gold for Raw. If you were to look at the economies, it'd be kind of hard to tell who won the game. Technology. Villager high, pretty similar. Look at these huge spikes, though. What in the world was this, where Tim had this much of an advantage? All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this little series. I'm going to be back Tuesday at the same time, 16 GMT, where we'll cast the next player, which will be Vivi. We'll have 3 themes and 3 games from them. They could be newer games. They could be older games. We could see some classic players in there. And hope you enjoyed the stream. Please tune in again. I'm as well on Sunday and Saturday and Sunday, actually, pretty much all weekend. We're going to be casting the Continental Wars, I believe it's called. Yeah, Continental War 2. And it's kind of like an ECL format, except we have, different teams, different clans, different locations. And what I like about this particular tournament is that there's much more limitation on the civilizations that are allowed to be chosen. So each particular setting has only about 4 or 5 civilizations that you could choose. So it's very authentic to the areas. For example, we have an American, a Central Europe, and Asia part of the tournament, and that'll be all Saturday or Sunday. So please tune in for then. Otherwise, please tune in next Tuesday for the continuation of this series, and I will find someone to host. My name is Nobody. Thanks for being with me today.